Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Theater of Football. I'm Mike Odom. I'm joined once again by Jeremy Forbes. Hello, Jeremy.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Pretty good. Jeremy, we've been off for a week. A lot has gone on with Man United. Um, we're recording just an hour after we were able to defeat Newcastle 3-1. Wasn't a vintage performance by any stretch of the imagination, but isn't it all about grinding out results when you get in the wintertime?
Um, Usually I would say so, but against Newcastle, I would say no. We should been able to beat them with ease, and this was just such a frustrating game, even with a 3-1 victory. It was still extremely frustrating. At least for me, it was.
What frustrated you?
Just the seemingly from the start of the game, the inability to pass well, the constant putting ourselves into trouble, whether it be from the goalkeeper trying to pass balls out with his feet and just being rubbish at it, and almost putting us into trouble of setting them on for almost a clean shot, to just the constant kind of inability to do anything else but seemingly go down the kind of left flank. I was like, for the longest time, I was almost like, why in the world is Dan James even playing on this pitch? Because they seemingly never wanted to send him over the ball. So I felt like it was just too one-dimensional, the play. I don't think Martial added any value, and that was frustrating me. He just didn't seem to have any kind of potency, any kind of ability to find good spaces, to run into good spaces. And like I said, just from the defense straight on up, like our passing was atrocious. And we made Newcastle look like they had a chance to win this game, if not at least take some points. And that was very discouraging to me.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not a great performance by any stretch, like I said. The goal, and I felt like as you kind of alluded to from the word go, I thought that we were gonna concede. I mean, I saw it coming. De Gea didn't have any command of his box as usual. And Maguire was awful. And Lindelof was Lindelof. I mean,
Usual self, which I have little to no confidence with anymore.
yeah.
It seems like they actually play worse against terrible teams than against better teams, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think part of that, like, and I know there are periods of the first half where we were actually pinned back, especially at the start.
Yeah.
And I think when they do play better against better teams, it's because we're set up to play on the break. And where they struggle is where their mindsets their mindsets, they're thinking like, well, first of all, if it's a counterattack, they don't have any pace, so that is difficult. But even if a team pins us back, they're thinking, do I not only have to get the ball clear, but I have to maintain possession so we can go back on the front foot? And I don't think that's a good mindset to necessarily have. Just deal with the danger that's in front of you and then go from there. But yeah, the other part of it is just counterattacking with both of their lack of pace. In my opinion, they don't handle it very well at all. But there's just that mindset against lower teams and I especially see this from Maguire, where he thinks he not only has to defend, but he has to keep the ball in the same instance. And that's great, but just focus on defending. Focus on the important part of it,
Yeah.
And I thought their goal, and you and I texted each other, and we both agreed McGuire's header was atrocious. I mean, there was
It was
no
atrocious.
there was
It
no
wasn't.
he got nothing on it. There was no direction. No
Yeah.
so
There was
it,
no true threat around him. Like
yeah,
he wasn't jostling for the ball with anybody. Like there was not a defender close enough to him.
yeah, and you're spot on. But at the same point, I mean, this isn't going to be popular opinion, but why is De Gea not coming to get that? Because the ball's crossed.
Yeah.
It's another deep cross like against West Brom,
Yeah.
and you know what's going to happen in the elite goalkeepers like he's supposed to be. Read, they anticipate that players on the right foot, they're going to whip in across that 6-yard box. I'm going to start
Yeah.
cheating so I can come out and claim it. If they overhit
Yeah.
it or what have you, then I can just move back and protect the back post at that point and not come out. But he has no willingness to come out and make any claims on any of these crosses. And when he does, if the ball's whipped in under his crossbar, he's not even bothering catching. He's trying to punch it out, and that created an opportunity for them as well. And I just saw another example of him not commanding his area.
And do you think he's doing that because he's fearful of injuries? Because other keepers within the league, they come out and they try to get in that space more often. But yes, sometimes they do end up getting hit because of it. But I see them a lot more willing to do that than I see with De Gea.
Only he can really answer that question.
Okay.
And if you were to ask him, he probably wouldn't say that he was fearful of injuries, even
if it is the truth. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a tough thing. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's similar to when he started at United when we signed him, and he struggled with crosses. He didn't really want to. I mean, we've seen him try to come out for them and get what should have been given as fouls. Goals happen and they stand, and I think he is just gun shy. I think it's more of a confidence thing than being worried about being injured. But that McGuire header, you said McGuire was under no pressure. Well, I mean, he's under no pressure. There's no one in the center of the goal. So a good goalkeeper should read that there's no danger in the center of the goal and start, cheating out to claim that ball and can get us on.
Yeah, and shouting at his defenders.
Yeah.
I got this one.
Yeah.
Box out, but I got this one.
Yeah. And I used to play goalkeeper, not very well, but those were the types of crosses that were coming in deep that I was like, okay, I'm gonna, unless and if the cross is horribly hit, then you have plenty of time to recover and get back in position. It's not like you're going to be out of position by the time the ball might find its way to opposing player. Those are the types of balls that you come out and claim, and your defenders appreciate you coming out and claiming those. So, well, clearly McGuire could have done better with his header. I do think question needs to be asked of De Gea again, not coming out and getting that.
Yep. I agree.
One thing that it was nice to see, it was nice to see another kid get his debut today.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I wanted to actually see him and Diallo both get a little bit of playing time, but I was glad that he got it then at least.
Yeah.
Even if it was just a few minutes or whatever, you when you get that, from what I can see from a lot of young people that end up being placed in that position, that first time that you get that, there's probably those little bit of butterflies, and then the next time it's not as much anymore because you already got it out your system. Oh, I came on, the earth didn't, I didn't get completely dismissed as a player. I can do this again. So I was glad to see him. Definitely get that. That was, I think, one of the more colorful parts of this match. I
thought it was cute too. The player he came on with, Mata, who's at the other end of the spectrum in his career. but he made it a point. Mata picked up the ball a couple times, and he was like looking for the kid to get
Yeah,
him on the
looking for him.
ball, get him a couple touches. At least
He
make
did
him.
kind of give him an encouraging word when they were both standing on the touchline too.
Yeah, he's probably like, "Hey, I'm gonna find you."
Yeah, something to that effect.
So that was cute. I like that. It was a light moment.
Yeah, I can
at the end of the
appreciate that
match
too.
for an otherwise pretty poor performance from the whole team.
Yeah.
Um,
I also noticed something, and I don't know if you would say you agree with this, but I think we become a lot less dimensional when Fred and Matic play together.
oh,
Because
absolutely.
at least when you have McTominay, he can stride forward a little bit more. I don't really see that with Matic and Fred at all. They always end up seemingly being in the same kind of area. So you don't have that kind of difference of McTominay being willing to say, okay, I realize defense is now sorted. Let me push forward in more to add a little bit more attacking threat and have the opposing team kind of have to think about that as well.
Yeah.
In my mind, they definitely don't think about that with Fred and Matic playing, because they also know that Matic isn't that fast. So
Mhm.
they put pressure on both of them, and they're going to be in the same area, more or
Mhm.
less, and not an attacking thing. Then the ball stays closer to our half, or any kind of missed pass or whatever, they can quickly be on it.
Mhm. No, you're spot on there. I agree completely. First of all, you don't really want Fred going forward. When he did go
Yeah,
forward today, you saw the result. I mean, it was
yeah,
he'll
it was
he'll
pretty
try to
atrocious.
shoot and he should just
Nah,
pass.
yeah.
Decision making in the final third. And he can play some decent passes. We saw that on Thursday when he
Mm-hmm.
played in Rashford, but that was, playing a pass from our own half in the counterattack. And
Mm-hmm.
when he gets in that final third and has space in front of him, instead of, trying to find the right pass, he'll just shoot and it's just not pretty.
Yeah.
So you don't want him going for it. And I've seen uh, United fans on Twitter get upset when he plays McTominay and Fred together, like, "Oh, this is terrible." But to your point, McTominay, he's shown that especially this season, he's kind of broken through with him getting into the box with these late runs, being basically that fifth man forward.
Mm-hmm.
And Ole has said that he's given him license to do that. And that's adds another dynamic because Modish isn't going to do that.
No,
Modish might be a
he
threat.
better not.
And Fred just, yeah, we don't want him really doing that. Love Fred to death, but that's not
That's not his game, and that's not his
his game.
strong suit. He needs
But
to stick to his strong suit.
to counter your point for today, at least, I don't think Ole had any other options available.
Yeah,
Like I
that's the
felt.
tough part, because we don't have Pogba right now. But I've seen this more often though. He does like to seemingly play Matic against the teams that are supposed to be in like relegation kind of positions and battles and fights. And I think that's a lost cause now. I don't think he should be doing that anymore, because
So
it puts too much pressure on the team. Matic
so
is more of a liability, in my opinion, in that regard.
so you just want basically Modic. So I agree. He does. We do tend to see Modic in these games when he does start, and I think that's more of a squad rotation thing. So basically, you're saying Modic is done. Move on from him.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And or the only games that you can truly play him in is like cup competitions, where we're not, because we're still in a battle for top four. Like
Mm-hmm.
we should not be playing him in a game where there is actually real kind of risk at stake. Like, we did not need another draw today.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm glad we got the win, but he doesn't help me give any confidence of getting wins. He's
Yeah.
either draw or a bust, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
I think that's a
So
good point.
play him in cup games, or play him in rounds where, say, like the next game against Real Sociedad is supposed to be already kind of locked up. Granted,
Yeah.
we still need to be careful, but it should be already locked up. Play him in that game if you need to rotate out players. Play him in that game. I'd like to see some youth be played in that game as well. Even if you only bring them on for, say, half an hour, maybe start off the thing with more kind of experienced players like Mata or whatever, but then bring some youth on with half an hour if we're still pretty much in the clear. That's kind of how I would do it. I probably wouldn't start them for the whole game or
Well,
start them from the onset.
let's talk about that. Let's transition into that game on Thursday because we came out of Turin with a 4-0 advantage. Now, I said a couple weeks ago to hold off on giving Diallo his debut. He ended up getting it. I feel more because of the injuries that have happened in the past couple weeks since then than maybe necessarily Ole wanting to play him.
That's probably true.
But I do think even without any injuries, I think this is the perfect game to give Diallo his full debut.
Oh, give him his start? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go with you on that one then. I'll give you. I'll say I would agree with you on that one. Maybe not some other players, but him, yes. I might still give the same youth striker because I think I would butcher his name.
I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it because I always thought it was Shortire, and now the Peter Drury, who's usually very good with words, and he also mentioned his Nigerian heritage. He said it was something like Shora Tire.
Yeah. So I'm lost.
I call him Shola because I can say that Shola. Let's just call him Shola.
Okay, I could go with that. But I would say maybe give him a game again, but give him like 30 minutes of play if we're still doing well with goal difference. Then you could even think about the other youth striker for us. His name begins with H.
Oh, Hugel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give him a little bit. Give him a little bit of a run. Maybe. But yeah, start Diallo. That's fine with me. You can give each of them a run for, say, Martial and Daniel James, pulling them two off and putting those two youth players on. I think Martial should start again, even though he was garbage. He needs time to play now.
Yeah.
Sadly to say, you got to work through some of the kinks, or we need to be able to realize that we can't really rely on him anymore.
Yeah, I think Edinson was close to being ready for today, from what I read, but he didn't want to be risked. I would say don't risk him on Thursday either. Then
no.
Save him for next weekend.
Yeah, start Martial again, but maybe put him on the left. Let him be on the left and let Greenwood start up the front, up the middle.
Yeah. Yep, I like that. Play him on the left. Give Rashford
a little rest.
Yeah, and give Bruno a rest too. You can play Mata in the hole.
Oh yeah, you can play Mata in the hole.
I think McTominay.
His legs should work.
I think McTominay could be back too, but I feel like the second leg with us up 4-0, you can get away with playing. I mean, it's not going to be a vintage showing. We just need to get through at this point. Just you could play Matic and Fred again in this case.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's fans out there that want, entertainment every match, and I like that too, but I understand that, situations need to be managed and minutes need to be managed too. And Matic doesn't have too many minutes on his legs this season. So put him out there, save McTominay.
I'd be fine with that. You could probably bring back in Telles. I wouldn't really bring in Bailly. I would probably same for the Premier League.
But we probably will see Bailly.
That's the sad part. Yeah.
The way the selection seems to go with our center backs, he probably will come in and gosh, knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't happen, but he'll probably pick up a little niggling injury that'll roll him out for another couple of weeks. But I would actually play Tuanzebe.
Okay.
But I don't know. That might be going a little too far for Ole. That might be risk wise. That might be a little too much for him.
Yeah, to do him and Bailly.
Well,
that might be a bit much.
I would play Tuanzebe instead of Bai, and then play Tuanzebe with either Lindelof or Maguire. Probably Lindelof,
Mm,
but yeah,
yeah.
that might be too much for Ole.
Yeah, well, it'll be. I think it will be interesting to see what his starting squad would be, but I do agree with you now. He's played at Atalanta, so he's played in games that would be as big enough as this. You know,
Yeah,
so the Europa League should be okay for him.
yeah. I don't know
I'd
if
give
he
him a start
started.
now that he can.
I don't know if he started any of the Atalanta's Champions League games the past couple years, but I know he's gotten on in a few of those matches as a
Mhm.
substitute. So
And I know it wasn't a lot of time in the game, but he looked poised enough and not shy enough when he did come on as the substitute. You know, yeah, I think from how people saw him, his movement and his kind of assertive kind of direction, that they would feel comfortable with passing him the ball and having him more into the game if he started.
yeah, yeah. I would trust Tim enough to start at this point. You've had him but he's basically been training with the first team since he arrived. He played
Mhm.
a couple matches with the under 23s, but he wasn't necessarily training with them.
Yeah.
Which bodes well as him as a player to not have trained with those players and to go out there and look like there's no issues chemistry wise with
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
with those players. But you mentioned Hugo, and he would be the next one I would want to see to get a debut, even if it's just as last 10 minutes of a match. There's what
15
is
minutes. Okay.
yeah, we have what 12-man benches in Europe with 5
Yeah.
substitutions. So I think
Yeah.
we get late in the match and Real Sociedad haven't necessarily pulled much back. You could throw him out there and let him get some experience, let him get his debut
Yeah.
under
Yeah.
his belt,
Yeah.
and I think he's a player who deserves it based
Yeah.
upon what
And
he's put
the
in.
thing is with me, I do appreciate what I've seen from him so far playing with the youth. Like if we had a more uh kind of structured defense that I would feel comfortable, I would say start the young kids. Do more of a youth start like how we used to do back in the day.
Yeah,
But with how our defense has been, like I just don't trust that right
yeah,
now. And we need this we need this cup, you know? We need this competition.
yeah, yeah. You're right. We can't take it lightly. So you got to manage the risk there.
Mhm.
But I mean, I like a front four if he stays with his favorite formation 4-2-3-1, where he we said you give Rashford a rest, you give Bruno a rest, and then you play Greenwood as the striker, you play Martial out on the left, where I feel like you get the most
He
out of
wants
him.
to be, yeah.
Yeah,
James
and
on the
then
right.
you could play James on the right. I'd be okay with that, but I'd like to see Diallo get his full
Hmm.
debut in that one, and then play Mata in the hole, kind of in the Bruno role with Van de Beek out.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that's what I would like to see.
Then
Could
James
be,
can come off the bench if anything.
yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, I'd probably still have like Rashford and Bruno on the bench
Hmm.
just in case. I mean,
Yeah.
just in case things go sideways quickly. You got
Mhm.
especially Bruno there to
Yeah,
bring him
yeah,
on and to kind of breathe some confidence back into the performance.
yeah. The
Hopefully,
only the only fear that I have in regards to that of why that role might not be initially what happens is because with him scoring in 2 matches back to back, I think Ollie will start him. So just how will you start James and where will you have him if you wanted to play him and Diallo together?
well, he could. I could see him going with Martial through the middle, and he could play Jallo. He could move. He'll probably move James to the left because I think James is more comfortable over there, and I think Jallo tends to play more on the right. At
Yeah.
least what I saw in the couple games in the reserves, he was more
Hmm.
in that playing in that role. Um,
Hmm.
so I think that could work out well. The one thing though with James, and I wanted to talk about him a little bit because I feel like his performances are starting to get better. And I know he scored goals. He scored some goals recently, which is good. But they came in matches that were already decided, if you
Yeah, yeah,
will.
yeah.
The Leeds
More or
match
less.
where we won 6-2 and he scored the sixth. Uh,
Hmm.
the
Except for today's match.
what's
Today's
that?
match was important, except
Yeah,
for today's match.
today's match, he finally scored the winner, which is why I'm kind of alluding to this. I actually feel like I'm seeing better performances from him. He seems to be sorting out. I think he knows that his best route into the team is to play down the right. And
Mm,
I'm finally starting to see some growth in him that playing down the right as a right-footed player, it's you're going to want to just get to the byline or put in crosses more than cut inside and shoot with your left foot or maybe clip a ball in with your right foot. That's not going to be that dangerous.
hmm.
And I see some better decision making too. Now he didn't get every decision right today,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
but he seems to be quicker of thought and the quality seems to be improving. So both just him just feeling out and knowing what he needs to do, playing on the right instead of as an inverted winger on the left. He's
Yeah.
starting to get more comfortable there, and I feel like his decision making because of that is starting to improve.
Okay.
But to your point, I thought in the first half he was looking okay. He got picked up a couple fouls, but we kept playing down the left, and that's
Yeah.
a problem. Like I don't like I see Arsenal doing stuff like that too, and I'm like, you have the whole pitch to play with. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
maybe your best players might be out here on the left, but you got to keep the other team honest and go
Yeah.
down the right a little bit.
Yeah, because otherwise they'll create a kind of a defense where they'll be having that kind of middle of the park area where
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to pass through and maybe go out, be the point of attack where they shut it down. And because you're not trying to actually get balls further over to the other side in the air, they're not worried so much about that side anymore. So they can basically cut off any passes to the middle and then put your pressure on that side of the pitch. Like you said, we're not keeping them honest. And that was one of the things that was annoying me the most. I know Shaw has been having a good season and he's been helping our attack from balls coming in from that side of the pitch. But I think at the end of the day, you still have to move the ball quickly and like you said, keep a team honest, especially one that's going to be pinned back like that, and
Mm-hmm.
not uh, gonna try to build from the back like that and just go
Yeah,
at you afterwards. Like
yeah.
you gotta spread the ball to both sides of the pitch more quickly and more often.
And especially with James playing more recently and showing more quality, in my opinion, recently.
And
Like I feel
even
like
Wan-Bissaka, he's not been too bad with
yeah,
crosses as of late. A lot better than he was at the start of the season.
yeah.
So build the
And
momentum.
yeah, I mean, I thought they worked. They seemed to have a good understanding. That was one of the positives I took out of today's game. Was I mean, I know James scored the goal, but the two of them seemed to have a decent understanding when they did get the odd opportunity. They seemed to be communicating, and they seemed to
Mhm.
work out some 1-2s well with each other, and
Yeah.
that was encouraging to me. Um, Now, who will be the long-term solution on that right side? Diallo might be the long-term solution. Greenwood may continue to play out there. James certainly has a chance to be a solution out there. But I think that bodes well when you have Wan-Bissaka, who's I think clearly going to be our right back for the next decade. That you want
Mhm.
somebody in front of him who has good chemistry with Wan-Bissaka. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
that was encouraging as well. Was the two of them, and I wish we would have been more balanced in our attack to kind of look to that side because I think even if you're not pushing down the left constantly, even with fewer opportunities, if the other team's not so focused on our attacks down the left, you open up space for Shaw and Rashford to work in. too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it
Yeah,
just benefits the whole team.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to talk to you about, and this is going back to the West Brom game from last weekend, and we already
Yeah.
touched upon Lindelof not covering ourselves with any type of confidence when he plays.
Mm-hmm.
That goal from West Brom, I
Mm-hmm.
am still extremely upset that was given.
Got you.
And all I see on Twitter is Lindelof bashing. And I've criticized Lindelof too. Usually it's about either his positioning or
Uh-huh.
his lack of being proactive defensively.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, he's in the right position. He knows where the player is. The player jumps a second before what's natural, uses his head as a pommel horse. He has his hands over Lindelof's face, so Lindelof's blinded and just climbs all over him. And I mentioned earlier, De Gea should have come out and caught that ball, and I still think that. But
Yeah.
why is Lindelof getting bashed when the player's using his head and neck like a pole vault?
Well, this is the disparity that I do see sometimes with refs in this league. Like if a team at the top tries to do that, they're gonna whistle for it. But if a team at the bottom, because supposedly that's their style of play, they're more rough and rugged. They're more physical. No, a call is a call. Like
Yeah.
you gotta do it. You can't be just giving them chances to keep the league kind of, if you want to say, balanced, because you let these players do that because they're on the bottom of the table, and those are the types of ways that they're able to get goals. Like if you're gonna call and whistle a Maguire for that header that ended up being a goal in the one match, you gotta whistle for this one as well.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. We know Big Sam's style there at West Brom. It's going to be physical, and people are like, "Oh, Lindelof, he needs to be stronger there." And I'm like, you could have put Dwayne the Rock Johnson in that position, and all that Dion would have had was a much more sturdier neck to climb all over and to hold himself, to propel himself and hold himself in the air much better. Like I don't like Lindelof, the only thing I could think of that he could have done in that situation is actually just not be strong at all, just fall to the ground, because then the player would have fallen down with you and the ball would have gone sailing over his head out. So it was actually Lindelof should have been weaker, but that's so counterintuitive, and maybe he should have made more of a meal of it. But I'm not going to criticize a player for. I remember Gary Neville's first season as a pundit after he retired, and you're probably like, oh dear, Gary Neville. But we went to Spurs. And in the final minute, I don't know if we were nursing. I think we were nursing a slender advantage, and Patrice Evra went flying into a tackle with Clint Dempsey, American, and like if Dempsey fell over, it was a bang-on penalty. But Dempsey stayed on his feet because he was right in front of goal. Well, De Gea pulled off just a worldie of a save to keep him out. And Neville's first comment was, I don't know why Dempsey stays on his feet there. If he goes down, it's a penalty. I'm like, you're encouraging players to cheat.
Yeah.
To immediately Neville out of the gate, I'm like, you lose all credibility as a pundit. Yeah. Still love you to death for what you did for United, but and your fandom for United. But like, I don't like it when I hear color commentators go on there and encourage players to cheat. It happens enough already, but at least be honest and playing. And Dempsey could have gone down, and the ref most likely would have pointed to the spot, and it would have been a penalty. But he was wide open, 8 yards in front of goal, put it to De Gea's left, and De Gea anticipated it, guessed it, and I think he got his foot on it, and then stuck out, did like the splits and stuck out his big foot like he
Yeah.
likes to do, and just made a brilliant save.
Yeah.
Don't criticize, don't
Yeah.
criticize
Yeah.
a player for
Exactly.
not cheating
Yeah.
or not being, or calling him naive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But so the issue that we end up later on having is this: we either have to have stronger defenders that, in that case, like you said, well, even though say Dwayne The Rock Johnson would just provided him a better liftoff, Dwayne The Rock Johnson also doesn't know how to jump like a defender's supposed to jump and muscle a player off. So that's probably the only reason why he wouldn't work. So that's why you either need more defenders on our club that know how to do that, or I don't understand how you're going to make the refs be less biased in that regard, because
VAR should have looked. Jonathan Moss was in the VAR booth and he barely looked at it and said, "Yeah, that's a good goal." Like, are you kidding me? He's like, how can that goal stand? How can you look at that goal and say that's not a foul? Like I get refs on the pitch being biased. It's happened since the beginning of time, but you have VAR, and again, we're talking about VAR, and we know it sucks, and I know you want to get rid of it already. But that's like why VAR is there. Offside decisions and blatant fouls that create goals.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand how Jonathan Moss can sit there in the VAR booth and not tell
because in my opinion he has a similar bias. He might have looked at it a little bit more closely if it was one of the top half clubs and not one of the bottom half clubs where that is the style of play that we expect to see from them. I'm sorry. It's kind of what to expect.
All right. Well, I don't. But back to my main point about Lindelof. People saying, "Oh, he needs to be stronger there." I don't know how. Like, if the player goes, and we've seen Lindelof get beat time and time again in these situations where he's jumping with another player and the player wins the ball. Like that often happens. But in this situation, the player's jumping a good second before what would be natural to jump in a challenge for that ball. And and by the time it would be Lindelof's opportunity to jump to properly defend the ball, he's already got his hands wrapped around his eyes. He's on top of his neck. I don't understand. Like that was my main point, is him being stronger is not a valuable solution here.
No, and I probably agree with you. I think that's probably just another moment in time where they want to heap the pressure on him because they know that he's caught in other positions where it's not as blatant as that, but it still kind of hurts us. So yeah, this one was a lot more blatant and should have been called, but there's other ones that are less blatant that he should also be strong enough to sort out, and he's not. So they just use this moment as another kind of moment to say, will you look at this? Come on now, let's finally realize that this is not a pairing that needs to happen. And for whatever reason, Ollie could care less. That's the pairing that he's gonna have, and they are horrible together. Like when I seen them both running back and trying to defend against a player with pace, oh my goodness, my heart was in my throat. Like I was just like, at any moment now, like the players just could get past both of these dodos and threaten us.
Yes, these statues back there, statues of dodo birds. That's what
and we got extremely lucky this game. I do not rate either of their games today.
That's fair. I don't either. And I don't rate De Gea, although I thought De Gea did make a good save from Saint-Maximin early in that second half, where he got down low quickly from that fierce drive and not only saved it, but held on to it. I thought that was one he would just push back into danger. So he did well there, at least. But I think I honestly believe, like, I do think Ole thinks Maguire's like the greatest center back since, I don't know, Maldini.
Oh my Lord. He looks so confused. He looks so confused as of late. He
And I
looks
don't.
like he's completely and utterly confused, like how you see memes with with Jones, Phil Jones. He looks as confused as Phil Jones looks in memes.
Yeah, well, he pulled. I think he pulled a Phil Jones move a couple games ago,
Yeah,
where he's crawling along the ground and
yeah, he
doing just
definitely.
some crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, I know there's some people that continue to rate him as United fans, but I think gone and lost are his glory days that he had with Leicester City. He's not the defender that he was with Leicester City, and he's not even the threat on the opposite end of the pitch for headers that he was with Leicester City. Like
Or with England.
we're horrible. We're horrible when it comes to that, and people just expect it, and people kind of mark him, and it's nothing. Like even anytime that he doesn't get marked as tightly as he should be, the header is not on target.
Nope, we saw that again today. But one thing about Ole, sorry, one final point about the center back issue. I actually do feel like Ole would prefer to play Bailly and Maguire.
Mm.
I think he'd rather pick Bailly instead of Lindelof. It's just you can't trust Bailly's injuries.
Yeah,
You
it's too
can't.
much. It's much of a
Yeah,
thing. He's
yeah.
too fearful of it. If he was able to have at least as much confidence that he can play him back-to-back games like he plays Lindelof, then it would be happening.
And Lindelof this season supposedly has been playing through a back injury, which I think I read somewhere a while back will likely need some type of surgery at the end of the year. So Lindelof is clearly from his body standpoint, he can, I don't want to say deal with pain better, but he can hold up well enough.
Yeah, because he doesn't put himself in any positions where he would have to.
You have Bailly diving like 6 yards to block a shot and getting injured, while Lindelof just kind of stands there off to the side, like, "Hey, what's going on, guys?" I guess there could be a reason behind it. That could be part of the reason, but at the end of the day, I mean, I think Bailly goes out there and plays each game like it's his last, and with his injury record, you never know. I don't want to.
You never know; it could be his last.
But I mean, that's how he plays, and I like it, and I think most United fans like it too. Lindelof doesn't necessarily do that, and I know that goes
He's
against
too passive.
against West Brom, but
yeah, he's just too passive. He's
yeah,
too passive,
but
and he wants to look like a pretty boy on the pitch.
I still think he got hosed in that whole West Brom thing, not just with the call, but then what people were saying afterwards. They're just piling on. They're looking for a scapegoat.
I'd use him as a scapegoat. Him and De Gea, ride them both out. I'll leave Maguire as long as we're able to get maybe 2 strong, kind of quick defenders. I'll leave Maguire and say he doesn't need to leave the club. But
if we get
kind of over
Lindelof. If we get 2 strong, quick defenders, yeah, Maguire doesn't need to leave the club, but you'd probably think that maybe his position would be threatened at that point. I mean, probably not since Ole rates him so highly, but
yeah,
I don't think we'll get 2 strong, quick center back. I think we'll be lucky to get one.
I mean, that's the balance that you're trying to. That's the balance that you're trying to have. I think supposedly they want to look at him and a strong, quick defender as being like the new Rio and Vidic partnership.
And that's some of the people often compare Maguire to Vidic but like as Vidic being up here and Maguire being down here. And I love Vidic and everything, but I remember Vidic getting done during his career. I mean, no defender is going to go through their whole career and be faultless for anything,
except for Mings.
Except
I knew that'd get a lovely.
You just had to bring his name
up. Yes, I did.
Well, on that note, that sour note.
I watched all the matches today, man. It was quite hilarious to see various matches and still keep thinking about him as being this elite defender.
Patrick texted me saying, I read United are interested in him. And I read that too a
Please
couple weeks
no,
ago.
please no.
And I tried to like block it out of my mind. I did a pretty good job of it. But then Patrick brought it up to me again. I'm like, I'm going to have to address this at some point.
Yeah.
But no, we do
I
not want
sincerely
him
hope
at our
we do
club.
not. No, we do not want him.
Anybody
Yeah.
but him.
Yeah. I felt a little bit sad and disheartened for Aston Villa today, because I thought they put up a good fight, and if they just had a little bit more something, probably Jackie there.
Jackie boy.
Yep, it would have been a little bit more of a tighter contest. But I admired how they stayed and kept fighting. But yeah,
They've
without
become a really good
him there,
side.
yeah, without him there, it does limit where things are going to be coming from.
Yeah. He's their Bruno basically.
Yeah, basically.
You take him out of Villa and it's not great.
They'll play well, but not as great. Yeah.
Not great. But the curtain is now closing on the theater of football. I want to thank Jeremy for joining me. Let us know your thoughts on our many opinions we shared with you on today's video on Twitter at Theater of Football. And for Jeremy, I'm Mike. Have a great week.
Yep.
Oh, hello. Thank you for watching the Theater of Football. If you think Mike got it wrong yet again, please leave your thoughts in the comment section below.